Good evening, everyone. I'm Stacey A, your host for today's event, and it is my honor to join my dear friend, Dr. Michelle Jeremie, for the launch of the Epiphaino Company. That's a unique name. Can you explain what it means?
The Epiphaino Company is something that comes from my heart, right? And the name Epiphaino actually means to give light. But the greater meaning behind that is to become clearly known. And so that concept of becoming clearly known, to know yourself, know your purpose, and what you are here to do in life, that's exactly what is embodied in the name, the Epiphaino Company.
Beautiful. I love that. You recently completed your Doctor of Ministry with a concentration in leadership. Yes. Congrats again.
Thank you.
You also have a Master's of Arts in Worship Studies, as well as a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and Psychology. What are some of the lessons that you've learned from your educational journey that has been applicable to entrepreneurship?
Okay. Well, my educational journey has been a little bit different in the sense that it was not the way that I had intended it to go from the beginning. You know, we have plans in life that you're going to do this degree and then the next degree, and things are just going to go the way that you intend them to go. And it didn't happen that way. And I had beautiful opportunities in between for service, community impact, for personal growth. And there was actually about a decade between my master's and my doctorate. And so one of the main lessons that I have learned in my whole educational journey is that it doesn't always go the way that you want to.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. But don't give up. When it's something that's for you, when it's a dream that's in your heart, you will get it. And also, because as you said, I have a background in psychology, sociology, in the creative arts, and then now in leadership, that multidisciplinary nature has really been beneficial to me for my exposure of my lens, how I see the world, and being able to pull things from different disciplines to be able to serve. So I enjoyed that.
Awesome. And that's really important for entrepreneurship. Those are real transferable skills.
Yes.
You're also a licensed minister who serves as a lead pastor of Victory in the Word Outreach. How has being in ministry shaped your character and influenced your ability to serve others?
Okay. Well, being in ministry, the core aspect of that is love. And I have found that being a lead minister, being a lead pastor, that it will stretch you in ways to love. And it takes you beyond yourself. It takes you beyond sometimes what you want to do in the moment. And then when you begin to think about life, it expands your own vision, that you're not just thinking about how it's going to affect you, but you think about how it's going to affect so many other people, right? So you make decisions and choices with that in mind, and also how to have things to benefit them as well. And another lesson that I've learned in this journey is integrity. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes.
You know, integrity, because we don't want to be leaders who say one thing and then live something else, right? And none of us are perfect.
Exactly.
I am a work in progress, I know that, right? But one of the things that I work towards is having integrity. The same way that God has us working towards upholding the integrity of his image, that we would love like him, that we would think like him, that we would speak like him. In leadership, you have an opportunity to work that out, how to actually do what you say and mean what you say.
That is very, very important. Also, what does it mean to embrace a life of fullness, and how have you begun this journey?
A life of fullness. I think everybody is searching for that.
Yes.
We all want to live from a place of wholeness and completion, right? And because I'm a faith-based person, my foundation is faith, there is a scripture that talks about us being complete in Christ. And I've learned along the journey that wholeness, completion, is not something that you are attaining. You're not working to try to fill the void on the inside or to have achievements and all that to make you into somebody. But wholeness is actually a gift given to us from God. And we are now invited into this adventure of unpacking and unwrapping this gift of wholeness to see how would a person who is actually complete, not based on what I do or what I accomplish or what I possess, but just that gift of wholeness that God has given me. How would that person live?
Right.
How would that person think? And it stops you from, running that race. I got to be whole, but taking that breath and say, okay, I've already been made whole. in Christ. It's a gift. Now I got to learn how to see life from that perspective. And so in my life, I have come from a position of lack where, you know, there's never enough.
Right.
You are not enough.
Yes.
You'll never be able to do enough, right? And we know that that is not a healthy way to live.
Exactly.
Because even when you achieve one thing, there's something else that you can have afterwards.
Exactly.
Right? So
Yes.
it's always that cycle.
And that chase.
It's just that chase, right? And so you stop that chase when you embrace that wholeness is a gift, fullness is a gift, and now you can actually live from that place instead of trying to attain it.
That's a good place to be. We all need to strive to be there.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship can be transformational. Since it tests our character, it pushes us beyond our limits. It makes us use our survival skills, but it also requires faith, dedication, and resilience. What motivated you to become an entrepreneur, and how did you know you were capable?
I love that last part, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes you wake up in the morning and you have to remind yourself that
That's
you can do
right.
this, right? But honestly, I come from a family too of business owners, right? And in different ways, and it's like it was part of our culture that we would be entrepreneurs, that we would look for ways to build kingdom wealth, right? And also to make opportunities for other people.
Very important.
So that is so important, right? So it was ingrained in me for a while that that is the way to go, right? Now in the journey, you also have to, two things. One, find that one thing that you want to do, right? Because I call it the Barbie syndrome, where you know Barbie, she was, we love Barbie, right?
Right.
but you know, she was a chef and an astronaut and a teacher and all
Right,
these things,
right.
and she did all well while having a size 6 waist and
Right,
looking good. Right?
exactly.
But in reality, you cannot do all things at all times.
You can't.
You got to find that thing that you were created for, the thing that you were shaped for, and that your life has prepared you for.
Right,
Right.
yes.
And to find that thing, so you got to be in the journey for that, and then also building that inside gumption that, you know, you're going to get no's, you're going to have failures, but that what you carry is so much more important.
Right.
And that the world needs it, right? You got to have that outweigh the butterflies in your stomach.
That's right. It's like you feel the fear and do it anyway as well, right?
Exactly.
Really important. Now, you're also an author. I have a copy of your book here, The One Life, No God, Grow Strong and Do Great Works. How did you develop the title, and how long did it take you to publish your book?
Wow. You know, to develop the title, it actually came organically. I was from a series of messages that I was actually teaching the church, right? And it just over about 3 months, it started off with one concept and just breaking down the barriers in our lives so that we don't have like the Michelle, the church Michelle, the work Michelle, the friendly Michelle. No, because you get very fragmented.
Yes, right. Yeah.
You know, and that wholeness, you cannot even embrace it. And so from that series that I was teaching, it started to snowball. And the one concept that kept coming up was one. It's one life. It's a unified life. And that's literally how I got the title. So I would like to say that the process of writing the book started maybe in September, October, and I finished in December.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That is
Right?
amazing.
But I will tell you this, it was great to have a team that was so supportive, and even the night staying up to write and to edit and all those things, they stayed with me.
That's good.
And so the book is only possible because of my community.
Amazing.
You know that proverb, I am because we are?
That's
Like,
right,
that's
yes.
literally how that book came to
We're
be.
strong as our support system, right? And what type of insights does your book provide?
Well, the book is, it's a twofold book.
Okay.
One, it's really written poetry, like a story of a person who is, you know, broken, who is basically a slave to brokenness, to despair, to depression, all those things. And then she meets her rescuer, and the rescuer takes her from that place, pays the penalty, the price for her life, and takes her to a place to clean her wounds and show her what freedom looks like, right? So it's really a story of salvation, but put in a way that people can read it and really grasp it, because it's in very earthly terms.
Right, very
it's
good.
a character you can actually relate to.
Yes.
And so that is the concept of the book, and it just shows us where we are coming from and what we are going to, right? So that's really what the underlying concept is for the One Life.
Very good. And what, have you learned from creating your book that is relevant to entrepreneurship?
Well, like I said, number one, that community.
Right, got to have a community, got to have a team.
You've got to have a community.
Yes.
You cannot do it by yourself.
Exactly.
And the good thing about the community is that you don't want everybody who is like you. You want some people who are going to challenge you, say,
right.
I know you got more in you, so you better bring it. And then the ones who will bring you the Starbucks when you're ready to sleep. And the community is so important, right? And also, for me, I could say this for the One Life and entrepreneurship is that I found myself in the story, right? And even with starting a business, if it doesn't come from your core, then you may not be as successful as you want to be. Because sometimes we just go for the next thing, okay, this is popular, I'll sell it. I mean, that has a measure of success, right? But there's a difference when it's coming from your essence.
Yes.
You're telling your story, that it's actually part of your life. So that when you share it, when you talk about it, when you go before people to market it, there is such authenticity behind it because you are bringing something that you would give because it comes from you.
Yes.
So one of the things I would say is that get to know what it is that you carry and offer that to the world.
I love that. Get to know what it is that you carry. That is so powerful. You also working on a second book, the One Life series. And how will it be different from your first book?
All right. So the first book was more of like the introduction, what it looks like to come from that place of despair and brokenness and what wholeness looks like. Well, then after that, we're going back into the real world setting. And how does that work out when you meet people who are still broken, right? So it's kind of navigating, living your faith out in life in a very practical way, right? Because sometimes we can get very heady, right? But you need both the brain and the heart. Yes. And it needs to resonate with people at that heart level. So at this second book, it gives me an opportunity to go deeper into what it looks like in everyday situations, different stories of people's lives, and how your faith is worked out. Right, and that's really important, especially for now, right? People are looking for tools to kind of guide them. So let's talk about mottos. You have a personal motto for you, Michelle, Dr. Jeremie, I should say, the person, and for your company. But your personal motto is one who dares to live the one life with joy. What message are you hoping that people will get from this motto? Well, courage, first of all, right? Now, the interesting thing is, growing up, I always thought that people who were strong were fearless. And I used to say that, I'm not fearless. I still at times feel the fear. I still at times doubt myself. And I would see people who were so strong. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're just fearless. They know themselves. And I remember reading this book, and it was talking about confidence basically coming in waves. Right. That there's some times that you will feel more confident than other times, and depending on different factors in life and variables. But even if you experience a not so high moment, knowing that the high moment will come again. That's right. And being kind to yourself and giving yourself the grace to go through the different seasons of your life, right? And to manage your own expectations of yourself. So with my motto, it's the aspect of courage, who dares to live, because there's so many things that will want to shut you down or contort you so that you live in smallness. That's right. So you have to have that courage to live. And for me, joy is a big thing. It's important. Yeah, because I know what it is to live in depression. Yes. I know it is to not want to get out of bed in the morning or to look at yourself and hate what you see in the mirror. And so the idea that I've been restored and I have that gift of wholeness, I am going to have joy, Stacey. Unspeakable. You got that unspeakable joy. I am going to live with joy. That doesn't mean like the giddy happiness. No, because we have our moments. But just to know that joy is my inheritance. Joy belongs to me, right? And so I am going to be intentional to make room for my joy. Wow, I love that. I just love that. That's powerful. You have a motto for your company, living
in light and walking in peace. How did you arrive at that motto, and what message are you hoping that others will receive from it?
Yeah, so that motto actually comes from the Word of God. It comes from Luke chapter 1, verse 79, and it talks about what Jesus is coming to do, to give us light. And light for those who are sitting in darkness and in the shadow of death. Now, darkness is not just taking off all the lights and sitting in a dark place, but that's also ignorance. That's also, you know, places in your mind that are small or that are not expanded the way that it should be. And so bringing in what I like to say, timeless truth for modern day living. So you bring in the truth and allow that to light your own thinking. And as you do that, you yourself find your own pathway out to that next level.
That's right.
Right. And walking in peace is, you know, not the absence of war, because we know that there will be things on the outside that will shake us. But the peace is really an internal peace.
It is, yeah.
Right? That you are at one with yourself. That you are in harmony with yourself. And that you love yourself.
And acceptance too.
Acceptance, all of that goes together, right? Because sometimes when we want situations to change, we want them externally to change. But I have read so many stories of people who were in the concentration camps or even during slavery, different things you hear, and they were physically imprisoned. But emotionally free.
Yeah, and mentally free as well.
And mentally free.
Yes.
And that's where we have to get to, that what is on the outside doesn't determine our joy.
That's right.
Exactly, because when you allow it to determine your joy, then you become reactionary in life. And you react to hate with hate. You react to ignorance with ignorance.
That's right.
Instead of responding from a place of completion. So that is really what I'm hoping that people will get from the motto, that it is possible. But it starts with me.
That's right.
I am the change.
That's right.
that I am waiting for.
Right. We got to be that change that we want to see in our world. Now, we do have a lot of people who are tuning in who are current entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of talk about your brand, your business brand, your personal brand. How would you, what insights or advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are trying to develop their personal brand and make it a little bit different from their business brand? I have both. I have a personal brand, Stacey A, and then my company brand, BStellar Group Inc. So what insights would you give in that regard?
Well, for your personal brand, for sure, is integrity. I keep going back to that word, integrity, right? You want to display who you truly are. And there is beauty. There is beauty in who you are. And I like to say there is gold in the mess.
Yes, there is, right? I love that. Yes.
There is gold.
Gold in the mess.
Yeah, and it just takes the excavating and looking for that gold. So for your own personal brand, there must be integrity and there must be consistency.
Yeah, it's important.
And there's something that we're working on, and growth and development.
Yes.
Right. So you always want to be open, trying to cultivate that growth mindset for your own self. Now, when it comes to your business, now I would say that whatever you have for your personal brand, you want to be able to relay that in your business brand, right? You definitely want to do that. And I will also add that there are levels of intimacy. And so we must be aware of who we're allowing at one time. So sometimes there's some very personal things going on in your personal life that is not the company brand. That is not right. So you have to know your own boundaries. You have to know what it is that you are here to present to the world, and then hone that and be consistent in that, and make sure that there is a distinction between that and your own personal life, right?
Very important.
That's very, very important, because another thing that's important is that even though the business comes from you, the business is also going to have other people on the team.
That's right, yeah.
Right? So you want it something that they can uphold, that they can conform to as well. And if it's just your personal, you, then
there's no room.
There's no room. There's no room for them to bring their own kind of slant and own flavor to it.
That's right.
So you want to take the core components of who you are in the business, because it's coming from you, but you also want to leave room.
That's right.
for the development, because the business is going to go beyond you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And growth is important. We're going to talk a little bit more about growth. So as you know, we are living in a cluttered, noisy, digital world where people base their identities on external validations, such as job titles, social media followers, right? Their likes and even their accomplishments. Many people are trapped in the cycle of self-promotion and are constantly marketing themselves to each other. Can you walk us through how you became an overcomer of performance-based identity and an external validation value system?
Okay. So that word overcomer, right? I like to add overcoming, right? There's overcomer and overcoming, right? Just like, you know, if you experience salvation, you are saved and you are working out your salvation,
yes,
right?
That's right.
Because what happens is you get to a point where that external validation, that performance-driven identity no longer defines you, right? It no longer defines you. So that's the overcome part. You've overcome that, right? And the overcoming part of it is that you are also diligent as you walk through life to ensure that you are closing those gaps. Because you know, we all have triggers in different ways.
We do,
right?
Yes.
There are sometimes you will be fine in a conversation and there will be a trigger from something that happened, you know, a while back, and it could just bring it back to you.
That's right, yeah.
And, you know, you can say, well, if you're really healed from that, then but yeah, healing is also a process.
It is, yeah, ongoing.
Have you ever been somewhere and perhaps like you smell something and you have a memory?
Yes, of course.
And it brings you right back to that?
Yeah.
And so we know that this world will have triggers, will have different cues that will, you know, remind us a little bit of what has happened before. And the other thing that we have to be mindful of is as we're going through this journey of growth and you know, becoming all that our potential is in God, that the things that come to trip us up sometimes come dressed in a different outfit, but the same thing.
That's right. Yeah, the packaging looks
different. Packaging looks a little different, but the underlying assumption is the same.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So you know, I've overcome it because it no longer defines me, and I'm also overcoming because I'm mindful. I am mindful of it, and which is what the beauty of that too is. The place where you've had your greatest struggle, your greatest challenges, is also your place of greatest power.
That's so true.
Right? Because when you share with people about the journey of overcoming, you have such an authority in that area because it's not something you just read in a book. It's something you lived.
And experienced.
You experienced. So you're saying it with a different type of passion.
Exactly.
You have proven it. You have tried it. It is tested. So also in that area, you are now being able to minister, to serve, to give back to the world. So that doesn't mean that it'll never come back to try to bring you down.
Right.
But you're mindful of it. So yeah, that's what I would share about that aspect, and just hope that people will know that we all, in the deepest places of our lives, we long for validation.
We do, yeah.
Affirmation. Just to be loved. You know what I mean? Just to be loved. And when I was younger, I used to say that I wish that someone could see me, right? Not for what I do. Because it so happened that what I accomplished, what I received, all my successes were great. But when it came to who I was and my personality and things, that others didn't think that was that great. So I developed that when you do it, you are loved. But what you look like, how you're shaped, those things, who are really you personally, is not enough.
That's right.
So then you just get into that rat race of just, I gotta do more, I gotta do more.
Prove yourself.
You gotta prove yourself, you gotta love yourself and that kind of thing. But understanding that that's really a place of lack and not fullness.
It is, yeah.
And so the deepest places of our being, we desire that approval and all of those things. That was placed there by God so that we would find it in Him. And so if we do not find it in Him, we are going to go to other things to get it. So bringing it all back, I like to say I've overcome that, and I'm overcoming because I'm mindful of it. And I just want people to be aware that we have internal confinements.
We do.
We have internal limitations. And sometimes we pass it on to others and say, well, it's because of this situation, it's because of that person. But really, when you peel away the layers, it's really you not liking you.
That's right, yeah.
It's really you not accepting you. So we're not out there to change the world in a night. We do our part to impact the community, to stand up for justice. We do those things. What we're really working on is our own acceptance of ourselves.
We have to start there.
We have to start there and to liberate ourselves internally so that we can literally see our lives more clarified.
Yes, I love that. And how can this liberation help us discover our true identity?
Well, you know, it starts off too with knowing your true identity.
That's right.
But the reality of it is that when we read who we really are, who God says that we are, we read it here, but we don't believe it here, right? So you can learn off the bat. You could probably recite it, say, "Well, I am who God says I am," and all of that, but it hasn't hit here yet. So then you begin the process, and it's a lifelong process.
It is,
right, of finding out why you don't believe it, and so that's where we see the systems of thought, the behaviors, the habits that we have developed that keep us loyal to a former way of living. Okay. We are sometimes more loyal to being in bondage than being free.
We are.
Because we know the prison.
Yes.
We don't like the prison.
But we know it.
But we know the prison. We know when food is coming.
Yes.
We know our expectations.
Right.
People have expectations of us and we can fulfill it. We know it. Now with freedom, it's a little different.
It is.
The expectations are different.
Yeah.
The realities are different. So sometimes deep down, even though we say we want more, we are more committed to the life of bondage. We are more committed to upholding the prison. And we've seen it when we've tried to help people. They will say yes, but they don't really put their all into trying to change.
That's right.
Because it has become their safe place, the prison.
Right.
And interestingly enough, we are wired for self-protection and preservation.
We are, yeah.
So we are going to go first and foremost to that keeps us safe. And sometimes it's the prison walls.
Yeah, which is sad, yeah.
Yeah, but there's so much more. So it's one thing to be set free. It's another thing to live free.
Yes, and that's important.
That is it. It starts on the inside, embracing that you deserve freedom, that you deserve more. It is going to take some work, but that is really who you are, a free person.
And it's important that we just own that and believe that, right?
Yeah.
Your company helps others grow from chaos to clarity with grace. What can we do to transition from chaos to clarity?
All right. So the chaos to clarity with grace is a phrase that I actually love, right? Because it speaks to where you are, the chaos.
Right.
And chaos has many different forms, right? It's not always just like you walk into a room and things are all over the place.
Exactly.
So even though that can be a part, right? It could be a lot of clutter, a lot of things, and you can't really think straight when you're in that kind of environment. But the chaos also is on the inside because we hear so many voices. Yes. And there are the negative voices, but there are also the voices of people who love us, who want to see us succeed, but in a particular way with their idea of what it should look like, right? And so there's a lot of things happening on the inside, our own emotions, our own experiences, even the culture that we live in. There's a lot of things that we have to filter through. So there's sometimes people who are like, you know, I just don't know the next step, but I don't know where to go. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. So that can be a level of chaos on the inside. Now, I say growing from chaos to clarity. And I use that word growing very intentionally because you've got to grow there. And it involves an expansion, it involves exposure, it involves looking at the mindset that you currently have and how that can be tweaked. Because the mindset, the thinking that got you into this place or keeps you in a state of chaos cannot be the thinking that's going to get you out.
That's right.
Right. It starts there.
We got to transform our mind.
There you go. And the heart, the things that we hold on to that can keep us in chaos. Right. We have to be able to intelligibly look at them and evaluate them, right? And as we do that, we're growing. We're growing in our potential. It's easy to have a shame-based mindset where it's like, well, I was wrong all the time. I was wrong, and I can't believe God doesn't want that for us.
Right.
But to know that we operated in one way before, okay, we made this bad decision or whatever, but there's always an opportunity to grow.
There is.
To step out of it, to become the next evolution of who you are, to tap into that treasure at another dimension. That's a fullness mindset.
It is,
right?
yeah.
Not condemnation and shame, but actually engaging with your life, getting involved with your life and thinking it through and all that. So in order to grow from chaos to clarity, you need grace.
You do.
Right? You need grace. You need that enabling power of God, and also you've got to be kind to yourself. You
it's
do.
important.
You do.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, it starts like in the One Life transformational way that this part of this program at Epiphaino, we go through the different steps, and it starts off with discernment. And that's really a fancy word.
It is.
Being aware.
Yes, yes,
Right?
exactly.
Because we can't move to the next level unless we are aware
Yes.
of where we are. And as I like to say, when I work with persons or I work with teams, you are the visionary, not me. I'm not coming in to tell you what you need to do with your life.
Exactly.
You are the visionary. Even though you cannot see it yet, or you may not be aware of it yet, you hold it in the inside. So I come in to help you become aware.
Right.
And one of the ways to become aware is to connect the dots. In life, we go through different scenarios, we have different emotional responses to things, but we don't always take the time to look at our lives and connect the dots.
We don't.
Right? And there is beauty. I keep going back. There's beauty in the mess.
There is beauty in the mess. There is.
There is gold there.
Yes.
And it's just like we're going to take the time to look at your life as a gift, and that within the gift is what the gift needs to function.
Right, and to flourish.
And to flourish, right? And so starting off with that discernment, that awareness, we're gonna look and see, okay, what patterns are there? What dots are there? How do we connect it to start to shape out what it is that's burning in your heart, even though you may not know it yet, right? And as we do that, then we're gonna be able to educate ourselves, to connect with the right people, and all of these things to be able to empower ourselves to take back our own pens to write our story.
Yes, I love that. Take back our pens.
Take
to write
back
our
the
story.
pens,
Yes,
Stacey.
it's so important to
We're
do
gonna
that.
take back the pens.
Yes, don't let somebody else write your story.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, like, I love to say there are people who it's just they love you. It's not that they hate you. You know, we're always talking about the haters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there are people who love you and who
there
help you
are.
in life, and that is so good. But you must also know what burns in your belly.
Yes, it's
You
important.
must also know, because that is what's going to keep you up at night to push through with the business, with the family, with the ministry, whatever it is that you're called to. When you have caught that fire that's burning in your belly and you know it, that's what's going to keep you when you are walking in darkness
Yes.
or the shadow of death, when
Yes.
you are walking in places where it is going to be so much easier to give up.
It is.
Or it's going to be so much easier to now take on what someone else is doing and mimic that. And you lose your essence, you lose the uniqueness of your voice, you lose what that thing is that you were designed to do. And so to be able to stand in the midst of all of that, we've got to be able to look at chaos with the different principles that we've been talking about, grow through to clarity, hold on to that vision, hold on to that, because when chaos comes again, you're going to need it.
Right.
You're absolutely going to need it, because at every level of elevation, there is a time of chaos.
There is.
It's just part of transformations, part of growth.
Exactly.
There's going to be that chaos, and because things are different now, you're learning new things and you're trying to figure out how does this fit? What's the next picture? That is part of life.
It is.
So we are always continuously growing from chaos to clarity, to chaos to clarity.
That's right.
Chaos to clarity. And we need to do it with grace.
Yes, it's so important. Now, can you talk a little bit about your company's 3 guiding principles?
Right. So the 3 guiding principles are, number 1, be available.
Yes.
Right. Number
Okay.
2, be growing. And number 3, be true. So let me break it down, because it's not the best grammar.
It's not.
It's not.
To be honest, right?
It's not. When I was working it through, I kept trying to change it to what I know my mind says it needs to be,
Yes.
and I kept going back.
It's poetic, though. It's a poet.
Thank you. I like that.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
a poet, so, you know.
You are a poet. We love your poems, right? She's a great poet, right? So I kept trying to change it for it to work with my brain, right? But it kept going. I kept going back, and so I said, you know what? We're going to go with it.
Yes.
And it will resonate with someone,
Exactly.
you know, and those who are poetic as well, maybe. But to be available, we are open to potential. We are open to potential. You know, sometimes we could be afraid of our own success.
Oh, yes, I know.
And one of the things, too, is like, will I be able to consistently deliver that? How will people see me if I give that? Am I enough to do that? Is it true of me to give that? There are different reasons why we could be afraid of our own success. But one of the things that's important to grow, right, is to be available to your own potential, to be open to your own potential, and to be open to the great things that you can learn in this adventure of life. Now, I will tell you honestly, it took me a while to see life as an adventure, because I thought of life as a day planner.
I think a lot of us do. I do too, right?
Yes. You have this, you have that, you have this,
and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that by this date, by this time. Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then I have learned it doesn't work that way.
No, it does not.
It doesn't. And you get more joy when you release, you
Yes.
know? Because one of the things I've learned that even with a deficit or lack mindset and a fullness mindset, living from that completion, is that when you have order, when you bring order with a deficit mindset, a lack mindset, you want control, right? But when you bring order from a place of fullness, it's alignment. It's different.
Which is different, very different.
Very different.
Yes.
And in life, you need alignment.
You do.
Because you only have so much hours in your day, so much energy, so much resources. So you need alignment. You need to be focused in what you're doing to know where to put yourself, where to pour yourself, right? So when we say available, it's just that we are open to our potential, and we are going to be fully present and deeply engaged with our lives. We're not going to just check out,
Right.
you know, and just like let someone else do it or tell me no. I want to be fully present, because I believe that I'm going to have to give an account for my life.
Yeah, we all do.
You know, and what I pass on to the next generation must be something of worth and value.
Yes, it's important.
So I've got to be open to that. So the next one is be growing.
Yes.
And I laugh because also before, I used to say, when I buy a house, right, I don't want any baby trees. I want them to bring it from the nursery tall and grown.
Yes.
Because I don't want the process of it growing and having to tend it. I just want the shade and the beauty one time.
Right.
And life does not operate.
It does not. You got to go through the growing pains.
Right.
Yes.
But understanding what happens is when you look at your life from a lack mindset, a deficit mindset, you're afraid of the growing, you're afraid of the learning, because you're thinking that it's going to expose your inadequacies. It's going to expose just how much you are not enough. It's going to show the world that you really can't make it. And so you hide those things about yourself by saying, you know, I'm going to have it perfect now. I want it right now. And it doesn't work that way.
It does not work that way, right?
Yeah,
we're like a microwave generation,
exactly.
right? And that's what it is.
Exactly. So I have learned to embrace joy, and I've learned to love the learning. There are some lessons I wish sometimes I wouldn't have to go through.
Yes.
There are some chapters I wish I could just skip over to the end. But, you know, I will tell you this. 2 days ago, last weekend I learned of something that I didn't know that happened about 10 years ago. And it was like an opportunity that I didn't know was open to me. And I 2 days ago, I was talking just to myself, talking out loud and thinking about it. It's like, wow, I could have had that opportunity 10 years ago. how different my life may have been. And then in the next breath, I was like, but I love the life I live. And I'm like, I'm grateful. Even though I would have loved that opportunity, even though, you know, maybe life would have been so different.
Right.
I'm grateful because even in the hardships, even in the journey, I can sit here today and add value to people's lives because of what I've walked through.
That's right.
And that was such a moment of just owning my story.
Yes.
And listen, I just enjoyed that. You know what I mean? Because I was like, yeah, I'm actually proud of the woman I've become. Not perfect.
Yes.
She's got some rough edges, you know? But I can say that even in the mistakes, it has made me who I am today. And that is really embracing a growing mindset.
It is.
And the last one is be true. And we want to prioritize transparency, vulnerability. You know, Brené Brown has this phrase, you got to rumble with the vulnerability. Because sometimes it's so much easier to not go into those difficult conversations.
It is, yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things I love about talking to you, because you have no fear. You're like, we're going there, Michelle.
We're going to have this conversation.
We're going to have it, right? And I stay in it and I come out so enriched.
Yes.
Because I really didn't know it growing in, or maybe there was an ignorance or a blind spot.
Right.
And so I love that when we parlay, you know, it's like we're going there.
Yeah.
Right? You feel uncomfortable.
And there's no warning. We just go right in the deep end.
There's no warning. There is no warning that we're going there, right? And you can stay on the surface, you know, and just stay there,
right?
So that you feel comfortable,
right?
Or you can jump into the deep, and even if you expose some of your weakness, you come out stronger,
right?
Right?
Because your survival skills kick in, and you got to start swimming.
I'm not here out to drown,
right? We cannot drown.
We are not drowning. We are not drowning. So I love that. So be true. We want to be open and vulnerable, because as we learn to do it for ourselves, then the relationships that we have are going to be so much better. And as we have better relationships, our communities are better, our families are better.
Yes.
And that is how we change the world.
Exactly.
Not just by saying big things and not living them out, right? So when we start off by being true, even if you're a mess, you're owning that mess, because then you have an opportunity to see what is possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
those are our
I love
three,
those principles.
Yeah, our three guiding principles. And so it's guiding us as a company how we interact with you. So, you know, you're going to know what to expect, right? And also an accountability, because I believe communication and engagement is both ways. And so if there is something that we could be doing better, know that there is an open door.
Yes, to give that feedback.
To give that feedback.
Yes, it's important.
So that we can get better, so we can serve better. So
you can only, once you evaluate and you open the door to evaluation, then this is how you grow and be better at what you do, especially in business. Now, where do you hope to see your company in the next 3 years?
Oh, yeah.
We got to look ahead, right?
Yeah, we got to look ahead. You know, my heart is that we would really have a strong community of people who are living in light and who are walking in peace, right? So what we aim to do is to provide content for you to be able to do that. So to trigger your mind, and as we were talking about chaos, to help you put order and have clarity in your personal life, and also it would not be something that came from my heart unless there was not some type of organizational skills in it, right? It's just part of who I am,
yes, right? Yes.
And I fully believe that your environment also reflects your internal state.
It does.
You know, so to take the time to declutter, because sometimes it's just too much, right? So we definitely want to provide that content, and in our teaching sessions, we're going to help people walk through that, and also we're going to have what I love to call deep diving sessions, individual, where I can come in and help you. You are the visionary. You are the visionary.
Yes.
But to help you to connect the dots, so you can start to see more clearly. So in 3 years, I see us as a growing global community of people who are learning from the Epiphaino team, but also embodying the principles for their own companies. Because if we're not here to like to spark that change or to fan that fire, then there's no point.
Exactly.
You know? So that's where I would love to see us in 3 years. And I mean, you know, the beautiful office space.
Yes,
and we were talking about that.
With the decor and everything going.
Know it. You're going to come in and that yellow and orange is going to hit you in your face.
Yes.
You're going to feel that joy.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
You know, you're going to feel that joy. But our own space that's going to be able to, you know, host all of the teaching, the seminars. And as we've been talking, we know that the world's going to look very differently.
Yes.
Very differently in the times to come. But we really want to make an impact, claim our proverbial territory, and also what's deeply in my heart is for that nonprofit to be able to go and provide these services to certain communities.
Yes.
So that we can start to change the status quo.
It's so important to do that.
It's not enough to throw resources at people without teaching them how to use them. Because the underlying assumptions are often different for different communities.
Exactly.
So we don't want to say, here. We want to say, let's do it. And so that nonprofit is really on my heart to be able to give in a way that many people will be able to benefit from it.
I love that. And it reminds me of a quote by Angela Davis, which says, we have to lift as we climb.
Oh, I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
We have to, right? You can't just send down the elevator empty and expect people to figure the way out. We have to lift as we climb.
And as you say that, can I just share this with you?
Yes.
When I graduated recently with my doctorate, I heard so strongly in my heart, you are now a ladder. And I take that so deep because the next steps is, how do I create opportunities? How do we generate wealth to be able to, as you said, not just sitting on that elevator, but you actually go and you help bring, you lift as you go. Because we are literally stronger together.
We are.
We are stronger together.
Yes, it's really important we do that. Now, can you provide some words of wisdom for aspiring entrepreneurs who are tuning in? And
All right. Okay, here's what, the first one I want to tell you is, it's kind of cliche, but it's so true. Believe in yourself. One of the things that robs us of our joy is comparison. So not looking at other people and saying, well, I should be doing that. You don't know what you should be doing until you start to tap into what is on the inside. Because like even for Stacey and I, we are both entrepreneurs. We both have our companies and we are able, one of the things I will tell you about this lady that you sit here, right? She is a connector.
yes, I do like to connect.
Yeah, and one of the things is that I never leave your presence without being lifted, without having some resource to go to the next thing. You are not selfish.
Thank you. Yeah.
With your advancement, right? And one of the things I can tell is because you believe in yourself, right? And I know you had a great mom.
My mom put those seeds in me.
I know that story. Who pumped it into you, right?
Yes.
And so, even if you don't have that mom like Stacey, or you don't have that family like I may have, take the time to believe in yourself, right? So that's number one. Number two is gather a squad. Right. You know how you can have like your own personal board?
Yes,
right?
yes.
It may not start off with 7 people. You may have 1. But there's something about getting someone in your team that you can bounce ideas off, you can share. They don't have to be exactly like you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If they're different, that's good. But you want to be able to expose yourself. Because one of the things I realize is that as you share more about yourself, you also grow in confidence. Because there's something about talking it out where it causes you to actually start to think through your ideas.
It does. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And as you are pressed to articulate what's in here and what's in here, you actually process it and begin to build courage in it, you know? And so I would say to definitely start to gather your own team. You know, you may not have the finances to hire them yet, that's okay. Start off with a friend or two and give them permission to come into your life. Recently, I had one of the greatest breakthroughs in my life, right? And it was a friend who I went to go see about 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about something just light. and she pressed me. I had given her permission to step into my world, and she pressed me, and by asking me certain questions, it opened up a new understanding to who Michelle is, and I'm grateful for that.
Wow.
So you definitely will need that support, and then love the learning. Love the learning. You don't have to try to attain perfection, because it's an illusion. Because once you see one thing that we think is perfect, that little dot should have been down, right? We are going to give our best. That's what we are asked to give. Know yourself, love yourself, gain a team, and show up. Give your best.
That's great advice, really helpful. I hope everyone who's tuning in is taking notes. And we do have surprise giveaways. We're going to give away 2 copies of Michelle's book. So I'd like to ask you to use the chat, and we'll follow up with you after if you get this right. So for the first person who could type in the chat, what is Dr. Jeremie's personal motto? I did say this earlier, so I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. The next question for the second giveaway for her amazing book is, what is the motto for her company, Epiphaino? So whoever is the first person in the chat to get this right, they will get copies of Dr. Jeremie's book. So just as we wrap up, I want you to complete the following sentences. Clarity is
Connecting the dots.
wholeness is
Completion internally.
the one life is
Well, the actual phrase for the one life is Christ in me in this world.
yes.
No barriers, no walls, one flow of life from God through me to this world.
Beautiful. I just love that. So how can people stay in touch with you, Dr. Jeremie?
Well, you can definitely go to our website, www.epiphaino.com. And I understand for some people it's hard to pronounce, but stick with it. You will get it. Okay. I will include the phonetic spelling, so you'll be able to practice it. But definitely go to www.epiphaino.com, and also on Facebook, our social media. Our Instagram is Epiphaino, just at Epiphaino. Our Facebook page is under my name, Dr. Michelle Jeremie. And so definitely just go onto the website, subscribe. We're going to be giving you information. We're going to be sharing with you. And one of the things that I love to do is I love research.
Yeah.
So you're going to be getting quizzes coming your way. I'm going to be asking questions, because I believe, as I said before, learning and engagement goes both ways. I am the product of so many people that you do not see today. I sit here, but you hear their voices,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so I want to help you to be able to clarify your own voice, your own purpose, so that you can live this life courageously and with joy.
Awesome, and thank you for joining us. And it was such a pleasure to be a part of your business launch, to join you in this conversation, and congrats, and wishing you continued success.
Thank you so much, and God bless you all. And I've enjoyed this time together.
Yes, it was great.
So I pray and hope that that you would have received something, and that we would stay connected, so that we can learn, we can grow, and we can become together. Thank you, and have a great night.